All right, Shalom. We're the Brothers of Great Millstone, branch out in Des Moines, Iowa. First off, we want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you brothers doing this work in truth and in sincerity and always in charity. All right, I'm the brother Malaki here, accompanied with the brother you call. We got together this morning, just to praise the Lord, man. To do the work, and we were talking about pretty much how everything that happens in this walk, man, whether good or bad, is all orchestrated through the Lord, and through everything we have to have patience, and we have to have trust in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, knowing and understanding that everything is going according to His will. So not to, like the scripture says in Jeremiah, it says, it's Jeremiah, wisdom and knowledge shall be a stability at that time.
Isaiah 33.
Isaiah. I always say Jeremiah. But wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time and strength of salvation. And brothers go into it all the time, into the word, how it goes into faith. So having the wisdom, having the knowledge of the Lord's will, how these things must happen, different calamities, different trials and tribulations, then it allows us to be at a better ease of mind. Okay?
I got one for you.
Go ahead.
Just real quick on that. This is St. John 16:1. It says, "These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended." I'm going to read in the NLT. "I've told you these things so that you won't abandon your faith." Right? So the Lord tells us these things, what to prepare our hearts for, before they happen. We've been warning of the tribulation and the hell to come, how it's going to intensify. We've talked about the betrayal. We've talked about, these are different things that the Lord said that it comes with this walk. So the Lord told us these things so that we don't abandon our faith as we're going through it. Because there's things that, people experience, all right, that they go through and they lose their faith, all right. Even in this walk, people that have walked away from it, they weren't established and grounded on what the Lord said that they would go through, all right, the sufferings and everything like that. So having an understanding of these things and be rooted and grounded in that, knowing that this is all a part of the plan of the Lord, it has you not to panic, all right, not to make haste, to understand, like, nope, this is written to accept His will, man. But I just wanted to hit that, but you got it.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17, and verse 12. It says, "For fear is nothing else but a betraying of the succors which reason offereth."
And the succor is a help, So when you can reason and understand something, all right, it gives a relief of mind, all right, it alleviates the panic and the, all those, feelings and so on and so forth, man. All right, but you got to be able to understand, all right, what's going on, what's happening, like what's happening now. We're seeing it happening. Okay, people are panicking because of the economy. All right, they don't know what's going on, what to expect. That's the perplexity. But here it is. We've been warning about these same exact things, all right, for all this time. We've been warning about troops coming in. And now you see ICE coming in and snatching up Jacob's trouble. These are things that we've been warning about, man. All right. But when you don't understand and you can't reason, okay, what's going on, this and that and the third, you begin to panic. Yeah. So the Lord has given us that counsel beforehand so that we don't panic, so that our faith doesn't fail.
Yep. And along the way, like we was talking about, He shows signs that He's with us, to the smallest things, but that's part of having that eye salve. It says the Lord speaketh once, yea twice, but man do not perceive it. So we have to pray for that discernment, pray that we can see the Lord moving within our lives and the signs that He's showing us that He's with us. It says, I'll read one more. It says, "And the expectation from within being less counteth the ignorance more than the cause which bringeth the torment." And there was a saying, I believe it's Seneca, one of the Stoics. He said, oftentimes man suffers more in his mind than in reality.
Yeah.
You make a situation a hell of a lot worse. And it was a spirit, because I was meditating and I was praying, bro. I was praising the Lord, and I was calling to remembrance, the acts, for the deliverance out of Egypt, how He delivered us from this in the wilderness. And the brother had posted in our group meet about, or if you wanted to pull it up, man.
In the group chat?
Yeah. Because you had mentioned about how they limited the Lord and how we can't do that.
Oh, you're talking about that? Okay, Yep. Yeah, in the wilderness, as we were journeying out, you had Jake that got discouraged on the journey.
Yeah, bro.
All right, but this is in the book of Numbers.
21:4.
Yep. Numbers chapter 21 and verse 4. It says, and they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom. And the soul of the people was much discouraged because of the journey.
Right, and like the brothers go into all the time, man. This is our pilgrimage, you know. We're not from here. We declare that we're pilgrims, that we seek a place, that this is not our home.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just passing through.
Yeah.
So at the same time, hey, this is the journey that we must walk.
And we understand that it's a straight gate, it's a path of difficulty, You need to, does that one work for it?
No, it's a C-type.
Okay. It's another one around here. But yeah, man, so we understand that, it's the straight gate. It says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, all right? It says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom of the Most High, right? So these are things that we understand. This is a part of that journey. But as we're reading here in the example of the wicked of our people, all right, they got so discouraged on the journey that what? I'm going to read the next verse 5. And the people spake against the Most High and against Moses. All right, so they got discouraged on that journey. Then they start talking against the Heavenly Father. They was talking against Moses. And you got people that go through that in their lives. All right, they'll go through certain afflictions and then they'll blame the Most High and why this, why that, I don't deserve this and that and the third and so on and so forth, man. You got people that are falling away from camps, and they blame it on the men around them and so on and so forth. And X, Y, and Z, they get so discouraged because of what they're going through, all right? And then they begin to point the finger, all right? And they look at the Lord as being unjust. So as we're going through this, walking this path, we have to first and foremost understand, and we get this understanding through the scriptures. First and foremost, we're being punished less than our iniquity deserve. So no matter what the hell your ass, my ass is going through, we really deserve worse. All right, we deserve death. And then on top of that, the Lord is using the situations that we're going through, the fire that we're in, to purify us, to make us better, to perfect our reasoning so that we can be accepted by the Lord. That's why it says that in the book of Psalms. I believe it's the 94th chapter. I'm thinking 94 and 16. Is that it talks about that you may have rest in the day of evil. I think if you type in I could just find it real quick. I can find it quicker in my scripts. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 94 and verse 13. I'll start at verse 12. Blessed is the man whom thou chastenest, O Lord, and teachest him out of thy law. Right, the correction. All right, the chastening, right? It says that thou mayest give him rest from the days of adversity until the pit be digged for the wicked. So the chastening and the correction that we're going through, the fire that we're going through, all right, is we're experiencing these things now so that what? That we can have rest in the days of adversity. So when the Lord really turns up the heat in this place, we'll have rest. And it starts off with what? Having a peace of mind because of understanding these things, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we got. He whose mind is stayed upon the Lord, he will keep him in perfect peace. So in the midst of the hell that we're going through, if we reflect back on what's written, all right, on these precepts, that will give us a peace of mind. Nope, the Lord said this was going to happen. All right, he said I'll experience these different things, but he'll be with me in the midst of it. It's just a part of the straight gate that's going to lead to the broad and the everlasting joy and everything like that is just a part of the territory. So these things help settle our mind as opposed to somebody that don't know what the hell is going on and they don't see no way out and they don't have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. They don't have the comforter, like it says in the book of St. John. Yahweh said to himself, he said, I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you. All right, that word comfort means an alleviation from grief and sorrow. So the Lord promised that, look, in the midst of this hell that you're going to go through, that I'm telling you that you're going to have to suffer through, I'm not going to leave you in that hell without being comforted by my word. I'm going to give you the understanding so that you can have an alleviation, all right, from the grief and the sorrow that you must experience. So this is a very beautiful thing, man. All right, so the chastening that we go through is for our profit, is so that what? It says in the book of 1 Corinthians, I believe that's the 13th chapter, the 10th chapter, it talks about so that we don't be condemned with the world, roughly paraphrasing that. I'll pull that up, but you got it.
Kind of just real quick to interject in there. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 12 and I'll read 14. It says, "Follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord." You know, and we want to be able to see the Lord within our lives now, presently, because again, going back to that Numbers, they, though the Lord was physically with them, the chariot was there, they was doing all these miracles, they weren't seeing the power of the Lord. It speaks about how they limited the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, they started complaining, "Oh, we don't got water. Oh, we don't got bread. Oh, you brought us out here to die. This, that, and the third."
Yeah.
You know? So when we find ourselves in situations, we have to have faith and hope and reassure ourselves that, look, we know that the Lord could do anything. You know, like the brother goes into, you know, in his prayers, it's like, man, you know, Lord, I know it's nothing for you to work on the mind of this person, to completely change their mind around.
Mm-hmm.
It says that the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. He turneth whithersoever he will.
Mm-hmm.
Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then, you know, decide his ways?
Yeah.
So the Lord is capable of everything and anything.
Yeah.
That we could think of, that you can't think of. You know, so we have to be mindful of these things. It says, "Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of the Most High, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled." So we don't want to let those different predicaments, you know, affect us to where now you're increasing in bitterness.
Yeah.
Now you know, like the brother said, all of a sudden you stop praying, you stop, you start blaming the Lord, you start blaming the ministry, you start doing this, that, you know, and now you're contrary against what the Lord has planned, man.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually finished that Numbers 21 and verse 5 now. "And the people spake against the Most High and against Moses, Wherefore have ye brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness?
Mm-hmm.
For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread." All right? And applying that in the spirit, because Yahushua said he's the bread of life. So just like Jake loathed the light bread in the wilderness, well, in this time, they're loathing that light bread now, which is Yahushua. But here it is. He is that rest. All right? That manna, it was to content. It contented every man's appetite, man. So it wasn't nothing wrong with the word. All right, there's nothing wrong with the word. You know, there's nothing wrong with the Lord, with the doctrine, and so on and so forth. But Jake isn't content. All right, you know, Jake isn't satisfied. They want more. That's why you got Jake doing the gimmicks and so on and so forth. They want the glory. They want this and that and the third. You know, the word itself isn't enough. They need more. All right, you know. But the elect, they're content. Like, nah, we got this word. That's all that we need, man. All right, but you know, just going back to the point, hey, don't get discouraged on this journey, man. Hope in the Lord. This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding should give us a stable mind if we're really reasoning and operating in that, man. You know, but I'll grab that Corinthians. This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter. That's not it. Yeah, 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and I'll start at verse 31. It says, "For if we would judge ourselves, we should not be judged. But when we are judged, we are chastened of the Lord, that we should not be condemned with the world." All right, so we don't want to get destroyed with these people, man. You got to burn in the lake of fire next to a damn alphabet nigga, a damn transformer. All right, you know? It's like, hell nah, man. So the chastening that we're going through now is way better than going through the sufferings of the full wrath of the Lord through all these calamities that's to come, man, and the Lord forsaking you. You know, so these things should help us and strengthen us to continue in this battle. Now we got to go through this, man. We got to go through these sufferings. You know, whatever it is that you're enduring, the Lord already had it written out. It says that actually in Ecclesiastes and in Psalms. I'll grab this. Well, I'll grab both of them. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 6 and verse 10 in the NLT. "Everything has already been decided. It was known long ago what each person would be, so there's no use arguing with the Most High about your destiny." All right? You know, so there's different things that, you know, you be like, man, man, why I gotta go through that, man? And this, it's like, look, bro, it's already written. You gotta go through it. All right? You know, it's already written. So things happen. It's like, well, that was written in the Lord's plans. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, you go through certain things and you don't reflect back and be like, damn, I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have, you know, you make adjustments and everything like that. Yeah, certain things you went through. All right, but according to the movie of the Lord, all right, the certain shit, it could be self-inflicted. You know, it's not just random events. You know, you didn't apply wisdom, so that led to you experiencing this. Says how wisdom is a defense. So when you don't apply wisdom, then you end up in more calamities and more hell, more sufferings that you know increase upon yourselves, right? So you learn from those different things and you make adjustments. All right, but you gotta, hey man, the scriptures talk about. Paul talked about it, man. All right, looking not at those things that are behind, but looking forward to those things that are beforehand, man. You know, so you got to deal with it, man. Hey, it is what it is. That's the will of the Lord. You might want things to go a certain way. It says there's many devices in a man's heart, but the counsel of the Lord that shall stand. So there's things that you might want to go this way and go that way, and the Lord is like, nah, this is how it's gonna happen. You know, you might want a certain level of comfort in this situation. You might want you know, you might even want your woman to act a certain way. She not, you know, your children to move a certain way. Why ain't they getting this? Look, hey, it was written is what's written. What's happening is what's happening. All right, and we just gotta, you know, deal with what's on our plate, the cards that we've been dealt. Praise Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and keep it pushing, man. All right, that's it.
And understanding too, because the scriptures speak about how pretty much it's Israel's portion to suffer.
Yep.
It says that many shall go through the straight and not
It says the righteous, the righteous shall suffer straight things and shall see the wide. The wicked shall suffer straight things and they shall not see the wide.
Yeah, so it's like regardless, man, if you go back in this world, you're still gonna suffer. You're still under the curses. You know what I'm saying? And then ultimately is that destruction. So you're gonna get punished along with the world and then end up perishing with the world, opposed to suffering and righteousness getting built up by it. You know, being perfected by it, like the brother said, and then obtaining salvation. You know, so it's something to fight for. It's like, why are you going to go through this in vain? And that's really what these people are doing. They're going through sufferings and ailments and heartbreak and all this for vain. You know?
Yep. This is Psalms 139 and verse 15. I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says, you watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion, as I was woven together in dark of the womb. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. Right? So everything was already written out to play out how it's playing out. You know? Everything is written out, man. Okay? Even when you read through different prophecies, man, it is just raw as hell, man. The Lord had it when you read in Daniel the 11th chapter. It goes into what they call the Syrian wars. All right, it's a play-by-play through, you know, the king of the north, the king of the south, and, you know, so on and so forth, man. It goes into detail where this king was going to give his daughter to this king, and, you know, they were going to marry this person and that person, and so on and so forth, like line by line. So even to the smallest interactions where, you know, man, he's attracted, like, damn, you know, I might see her, like, damn, I think that's, you know, I'm attracted to her and everything like that. They have a child. It was already prophesied that they would have a child, you know, come through their loins. You know, even with Yahweh Shai, man, you know, he was prophesied by name to come. You know what I'm saying? When you read in the Apocrypha and 2nd Esdras, you know, already set up who his parents would be. And the same thing with us. Everything line by line, play by play, like everything has been written out. So we have to trust and understand that that's what it is. And the scriptures talk about in the book of Jeremiah that the Lord's thoughts towards us are peace and not of evil, to give us an expected end. So it doesn't matter what we're going through. If we truly love the Lord, like it says in the book of Romans, the 8th chapter, all things work together for good to those that love Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So those that truly love the Lord, and we show forth our love through our obedience, according to St. John, I believe that's the 14th chapter. Yahweh Shai said it, if you love me, keep my commandments. He that saith he loveth me and keepeth not my commandments is a liar, man. All right, so we show forth our love through trying to be obedient to the Lord, right? So if we truly love the Lord and we're showing that obedience, he said that everything is working out for our good anyways. Like I always like mentioning, man, in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 2nd chapter, Ezra saw those men getting crowned. So it doesn't matter what those men are going through right now here on earth, they're going to eventually get those crowns. Okay? So it don't matter what they went through. If they eventually get that crown, everything worked out for their good. The suffering, all right, those same, and there's certain, those men on earth right now that are gonna get those crowns that Ezra saw in the vision, that John also saw in his vision. They dealing with baby mama drama.
Yeah.
All right, they dealing with bills. You know, they dealing with all types of hell. Children coming up against them, being mocked, scoffed. You know what I'm saying? Being ridiculed by their family. They're going through all of that, but you know what? All of that is working for their good.
Yeah.
And they're still gonna get that crowns. You're not gonna stop that. It says that we coming into the end where what? Where you can't hinder him that's gonna get the victory. Roughly paraphrasing how it's worded in the book.
Him.
Yep. Oppress him that's gotten the victory in the book of Second Ezra. So everything, bro, it's already written out. The Lord got it planned out. You know, we just gotta trust in him, trust in his will. Whatever it is that we're experiencing, man, call Allah like Yahweh Yahweh, man. Because you're gonna look back on those same afflictions, all right, that same hell, and you're gonna be appreciative of it, man.
Yeah.
Okay, just like with a child. When you know, a child as it's being raised, he doesn't understand why his parents is on him, whooping his ass about this and that and the third. You know, like, man, dad hard on me, man. You know, he always getting on me about this and that and the third. They might have a child coming up might have a certain resentment because they don't understand, which goes back to what we were talking about. As a child, you don't fully understand why you might be getting disciplined, what's going on. But then when you get older, you reflect back like, damn, all that was good for me. Because then you look at the badass niggas around you that didn't get that discipline, all right, or that had more of that liberty, right? And they were able to do whatever, and you might have been looking at them like, man, they get to do that. Why? You know, they having fun and this and that and the third. But then you see their ladder in, you know. Well, with us, well, the Lord has given us the understanding to where we don't have to resent the suffering that we're going through, man, and what the Lord is putting us through. It's another precept that says that, I believe it's in Proverbs. Lord's will, I'll grab that one at least. But it talks about how, you know, a person in the book of Proverbs, it talks about how a person will pretty much put themselves in like a bad situation, all right, and then they'll begin to resent the Lord for it, all right? You know, so it's like they'll fuck themselves up and then blame the Most High, man. It might be in Job, but you got it.
Yeah, no, that's it, man. That's it, because I was thinking while you were speaking, man, and it just slipped my mind just right now, but yeah, the Wadi Yabashim Yal Shah. I was going to say, it wouldn't be such a great deliverance if Jake wasn't suffering these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's going to, what made this, what made it so precious that the Lord delivered us out of Egypt? Because look at what Jake was going through. Jake was out there through, and the way the Lord did it, right? So it's the same thing here. Look at the things that brothers have to deal with, man. You know, you named off a few things, whether it's not seeing their children, being oppressed, subject unto different payments, you know, being fined, all different kinds of things, man. Body ailments and aches and this and that, you know. So when the Lord delivers us, it's really going to be sweet, and the Lord's going to show the power of his might, man. Mm-hmm. You know, and it made me think about this because I had sent it to the brothers, and it was pretty much saying, you know, it's funny how when you come to the lowest point, you know, the so-called lowest point of your life, people call it what? Rock bottom. And they're like, people think that that's the worst, but it's like, really, that's where you want to be, because what's rock bottom? That's the foundation. Mm-hmm. It's like, so when you're there, when you hit that so-called rock bottom, it's really, that's where the foundation lies, and the only thing that's there is what? Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Yeah. And then people are like, yeah, people think that that's the end and this and that, but really it's the beginning of you starting to build yourself up, you know, because we're building upon that foundation, upon that rock. Yeah. You know, and as we go along about our walk, you know, you got to imagine you building a house, right? You put this and this and this. Well, hey, there might have been a piece of wood that wasn't right, or you put this down the wrong way. So the Lord needs to take that down.
You got to tear all that shit down.
That needs to come off.
Yeah, you might have been leaning on that, and it's like, look, this ain't gonna stand up in the storm. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Because you got even when you're building a real physical house, you have inspectors. So once you do the framing, you got to call, hey, you know, we finished the framing. I need somebody to come check off on this. Somebody comes, they check it out. You know what? Okay, it's good to go. Or now you need to tear that down. You need to redo this. Woo, up the bam. This isn't reinforced. And then go from there. Yeah. You know, so the Lord is that inspector. You know, the Spirit is checking all these things out. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's beautiful, man. And because you got a lot of people, man, they'll be building, all right, and over that time, like you mentioned, man, you know, they'll come in and inspect, but you got certain people that they continue to build so long upon this foundation that's not gonna last. Then when they get the word in that inspection, like, yeah, you know, I know you know, you've been building, you put all this effort into this and that and the third, but the whole framing, the whole foundation is fucked up. It ain't gonna last. You need to tear all that shit down, man. All right, all of that down, man. You know, and then people be like, "What, man? I done built this long, man. Nah, man. I'm keeping this." And this is what we've been telling the people. Like, look, man. You know, the Spirit got His men inspecting certain things. You know, through the Spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai says that the spirit of a man is a candle of the Lord that searcheth all the inward parts of the belly. Roughly paraphrasing it, man. You know, so the Lord put the Spirit on His men to look at, you know, different groups and how they building or whatever the case may be, or an examining brothers. Like, look, man. Like, nah, bro. You know, you that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna last. And then, you know, make the adjustments. You know, just gotta deal with it. Make the adjustments, man. You know, so this is what happens in the spirit, man. There's certain things. It's like, nah, the Lord, like, nah. All right, that ain't gonna last. That ain't gonna stand. You know, and that's why in certain instances, man, you know, there's times where, you know, we can get frustrated. You know, in certain situations, you might lose certain things. You know, you might lose children, you might lose women, or whatever the case may be that you might care about it. But the Lord will have you lose everything so that you understand this. Look, it's just me and you. All right, you got to rely on me. You got to trust in me. You got too much, you know, faith in this relationship, or you got too much trust in this and that and the third. Lean upon me. You know, these other things won't last. Okay, so the Lord has it to where you lose certain things in certain instances because you might have too much an attachment to it. You might be leaning on it too much. All right, as opposed to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. So we got to keep all these things in mind, man. So the Lord is that's why the scriptures talk about the Lord being the captain of our salvation.
Okay.
A captain is what? One that guides the ship. All right, the shipmaster. All right, so if he's the captain of our salvation, well, he's leading us to that deliverance and that salvation. We got to trust him, man. So if the Lord strips away certain things from us, all right, if he takes away certain things, we have to accept his will, man. But I found that precept I was looking for earlier. This is Proverbs 19 and verse 3. I'm reading the KJV first. It says, the foolishness of man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the Lord. Verse 3, people ruin their lives by their own foolishness and then are angry at the Lord. Okay? So just going back into that resentment that people have at times, man. All right, here it is. You ruined you messed up your own situation because of you not applying wisdom, because of how you were operating or how you were moving. All right, but then you want to get angry at the Lord, you know. Then you want to talk about why me and this and that and the third. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, nah, man, you know. But then when you read about the mentality of the elect in various different instances, even when they were put in situations that at face value were unjust, okay, because we understand that everything is in the will of the Lord, you know. But at face value were unjust, yet they didn't blame the Most High. I'm thinking about Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael when they got thrown into the furnace. That was unjust, man. Nebuchadnezzar throwing them in the furnace because they didn't bow down to that idol, you know, to that image that he erected, right? At face value, that was unjust. But when they went into that flame, what did they say? Everything that you brought upon us, that was we're worthy of it. You know what I'm saying? They got thrown in. They were literally getting thrown in the furnace to get burned alive. And to sit there and have the wherewithal to be like, hey, man, you know, we're worthy of everything that we going through. You know what I'm saying? We worthy to get thrown into this furnace, you know? So we have to have that mentality, man. All right? Of like, look, everything that we going through, bro, we worthy of that and more. The Wadiyah Bashem Yahushai, and then the Lord is going to grant us salvation at the end that we're unworthy of. Come on now. All right? You know?
Yeah, it reminded me of this, just on what you said. This is Jeremiah chapter 4 and 18. I'm going to read the NIV. It says, your own conduct and actions have brought this on you. This is your punishment. How bitter it is. It pierces to the heart. You know, and that's what it's supposed to do. You know, now we can apply this to the wicked of our people, but also unto us. You know, it's, you know, using it in that aspect because this is our punishment. You know, the things that we've done, our sins, our actions have brought these things upon us. So when we do go through these different things, we could take it in good faith, knowing that, look, I'm worthy of it. Yeah. You know, the same thing, right? The three holy trinity. Like, look, man, I'm worthy of this. This really is nothing, you know, compared to what I should be going through. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, it says that it may be in the book of Baruch, but it says Baruch the 4th chapter. Spirit just gave it to me. I'm gonna find it real quick. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, and verse In verse 21. Nah, it's a little bit further up. Because it talks about not taking cheerfully, but take it with a good heart. You know, take the things that we go through with a good heart. Unless I'm thinking about Second Ezra's, you know. But nevertheless, man, we have to have a good mind, understanding, like, you know, this is a part of our suffering while we're going through. This is Baruch chapter 4 and 30. Yeah. It says, I'll start at verse 28. I'm gonna start at verse 27. 26. My delicate ones have gone.
25.
Con. It says, my children, suffer patiently the wrath that has come upon you from the Most High. Micah, I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I've sinned against him. All right, until he plead my cause, man. Mm-hmm. You know? So a part of what we're going through is, once again, remember, we made the Lord angry. He said that he would not leave us altogether unpunished, right? So we have to keep that perspective in mind, man. My children, suffer patiently the wrath that has come upon you from the Most High. We always talk about the curses. We're all experiencing the curses. Why? Because we all sinned against the Lord. Yep. Okay? Our past lives and everything like that. We're subject to payments, going to these jobs, suffering the way that we're suffering through because of our own iniquities, man. Okay? So we have to keep that perspective in mind. That's why in the book of Lamentations, the 4th chapter, Jeremiah said it, man. He said, why shall a young man complain for the punishment of his sins? Let us search and try our ways and turn unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Right? So having accountability as we're going through this. So yeah, the hell sucks. Yes, we're going to cry out, as I was going to say anyways. But we have to understand that, yeah, we're worthy of going through what we're going through. So it says, my children suffer patiently the wrath that has come upon thee. Or I'm sorry, my children suffer patiently the wrath that has come upon you from the Most High. For thine enemy hath persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction and shalt tread upon his neck. My delicate ones have gone through rough ways and were taken away as a flock caught of the enemies. Right, we done gone through rough ways. Okay, we done went through some hard shit. All right, as a nation, you know, nobody suffered more than what we suffered, like it says in the book of either Zechariah or Daniel. You know, so we've been going through hell. We've been suffering, right? But it says, my delicate ones have gone through rough ways and were taken away as a flock caught of the enemies. Be of good comfort, O my children, and cry unto the Most High. And that's what it does. The hell forces you what? To cry to the Lord. The scripture says how the Lord gets their attention through adversity in the book of Job, man. Mm-hmm. You know, so these different things should bring us closer to the Lord. Like you mentioned, rock bottom. That brings you closer to the rock. Yep. You know? It says, through the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better in Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter in the NLT. That brings you closer to the Lord, man. It's just you and the Lord. All right? Yeah. You crying out to him, man.
Yeah, but we don't want to be. I mean, we got examples of our people doing that shit, man. Look at the book of Judges. You know, Jacob go through calamities, you know, way out, and then finally it's, oh, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and then they get deliverance or they get aid, and then they quickly forget. You know, so that's one thing, is that we have to be mindful not to forget these things. Call to remembrance, man. Yeah. One of the apostles said it, man. I always quote it, and I feel like there's two, because I can never find the one, but it's like, remember how you felt pretty much when you first came into this faith, man. You know, remember how that was. Remember how you felt, man, that rock bottom, and how the Lord delivered you, and the different deliverances that the Lord has wrought within our lives. You know, so we have to call those things into remembrance, man. Mm-hmm. You got it.
Yep, it says, my delicate ones have gone through rough ways and were taken away as a flock caught of the enemies. Be of good comfort, O my children, and cry unto the Most High, for ye shall be remembered of him that brought these things upon you. All right, and just like the Lord said, man, as I brought all these evils upon these, so shall I bring upon them the good that I promised them. Roughly paraphrasing it. It says, for as it was your mind to go astray from the Most High, so being returned, seek him 10 times more. For he that hath brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy with your salvation. Take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. All right, and he sent the comforter to comfort us through these afflictions, man. These people are out here as the economy's collapsing, as they don't know what's going to happen, what's going on, uncertainty, perplexity. All right, they're going through all this with no comfort. Their comforts were in carnal things. All right, the things of this world. Their consolation were things in this world. Our comfort has been in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right. He said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. We're going to always have a comfort in the midst of everything that we got to experience. These people don't have that, man. All right. So the Wadiyah Bashem Yahweh for giving us him. Okay. You know, the Spirit had me do a lesson speaking on that, man. Look, the Lord gave these people the world. He gave them the mind to go after these things. But the Lord gave us him.
Yep.
All right. As our consolation, as our prize, our precious possession, man.
Everything.
He gave us everything, man. It says that in the book of Corinthians, man. All right. It says how we're poor, we have nothing, but yet we have everything, man. And the NLT, man, it hit. You know what I'm saying? So we got everything, bro. Everything that we need, man. You know? So yeah, we catch our little hell, go through our little suffering, but so the fuck what? All right. The brother quoted the precept in the book of 2nd Ezra. The wicked, they catching hell and suffering too. The righteous catching hell and suffering too. But Lord's will, we endure to the end, we gonna get a reward. All right. Their suffering's just gonna increase without without the deliverance. All right. You know, and going through all that without a comfort. You know. Let me see. That's all I'll read in that Baruch. You know. But I didn't know if you had anything else.
That was it on mine.
God, so shoot, you can close it out there, bro.
Yeah, you know, so Lord's will, you know, we be mindful of these things, man. You know, encouraging brothers to pray unto the Lord, to trust in his plan, man, to meditate and reflect upon the different deliverances, not only in the scriptures, but in our own personal lives, man. Because the times we're entering into, that's gonna be our driving force, you know, our faith and our courage. You know, that's how we're able to walk boldly, believing and trusting that the Lord is with us because of the things that he's done for us already, done for our forefathers. You know, and ain't nothing changing now. It says that the Lord changeth not. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yeah.
So if he fought for us back then, he's going to fight for us now as long as we fight for him. You know, so with that, we're going to give all praise, honor, glory unto
Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash.
Double honors again to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Till the next time, Shalom.
Shalom.